I worked at Market Street in Allen, Texas for about a year starting the summer after my freshman year. It seemed nice enough at first. Everyone I talked to loved the store and the manager seemed nice. I began to work anywhere from 25 to 30 hours a week that first summer. I provided as much as I could for the company. I was never late, always helping as much as I could. I still never got even the slightest raise or promotion. While I was working good hours, the $7.25 I was making, along with the tax deductions, wasn't leaving me with big paychecks by any stretch of the imagination. I never asked for a raise, but many of my coworkers did. And it wasn't a coincidence that as soon as they did, they had submitted their 2 weeks' notice soon after in search for a better paying job. I'm lucky enough to live in a nice house with 2 parents who support me. But what about those who truly depend on a sufficient paying job to keep them afloat?
Minimum wage has been a hot topic even before the 21st century, starting with President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In an attempt to combat unemployment and poverty, he fought tooth and nail to pass a 25-cent minimum wage requirement in the United States, and it was enacted into law in 1938. This isn't an issue that will go away with time or be ignored by the people. Regardless of political party, it needs to be discussed and addressed by our state legislation.
The first thing we wanted to do to learn more about this issue was to ask people who work with it every day. So we reached out to 12 experts in economy by email and asked them for an interview of some sort.
We are students at Plano Senior High School, and we are reaching out to you with the interest of conducting a brief interview of some sort with you. We are creating a documentary about minimum wage for our English class, and we would love to include opinions from experts. Please let us know if you would be able to have an email, phone, or Skype interview with us to help educate our peers and enhance our understanding of this issue. We know you are probably a busy person, so we promise to be quick. Thank you so much for considering our request. We hope to hear your response either way by the end of next week.
A few weeks passed and my inbox remained empty. 11 out of the 12 experts we reached out to ignored our request. Mr. Seth Yearts was the only one who wanted to confront the issue of minimum wage with us.
We all know minimum wage in America is not capable of making a successful life for a family. Even the necessities are hard to come by when making such little pay. Only 0.1% of minimum wage full-time workers can afford a one-bedroom apartment. That means only about 20,000 adults who make minimum wage in America can afford to rent when working an average full-time 45 hours a week. This is a map of the United States based on how many hours a week one would need to work on minimum wage to afford a one-bedroom apartment. On average in America, it would take 62 hours a week to afford a one-bedroom apartment. In California, 92 hours, and in Virginia, 109 hours a week. That's almost a 16-hour workday every single day of the week, just to afford a proper shelter. That's not even close to sustainable on one's own, and not even imaginable in supporting a family.
Yeah, Hal? We gotta go.
It's 6:10 now, and we're still waiting on him to get back and contact us. Hello?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Mr. Gertz, to put this interview into context, can you describe your area of research and your current position at UTD?
So my area of research is in the economics of taxation and economics of housing. I'm an associate professor of economics at University of Texas, Dallas. I've been here since 2015.
Okay.
In your opinion, why do you think we, as a state of Texas, haven't made any changes in our minimum wage despite increases in our living costs?
Well, I think it's a political reason. I think in general, the conservatives and Republicans are not as strong supporters of the minimum wage as Democrats are, and Texas is kind of dominated by Republicans, so it's not surprising that they go along with the federal minimum wage.
Here, Mr. Geertz is describing that the reason why Texas has such a low minimum wage in comparison to other states in the country is because Texas is a dominantly red state. This proves to be a major ethical issue, and if the reason we aren't raising our minimum wage is due to political agendas, then we must urge our officials to make policy not with their political party loyalties, but with the people in mind.
Would any increase in wages benefit the recipient after taxes even?
Well, so the taxes are going to be based on overall income. So it could be income for the family. It would be on the tax return. It could be a married couple. It could be a person with kids. And so it's going to depend on that situation. If you have a single person that doesn't have any other sources of income, and there's a minimum wage, and they're still able to work the same number of hours and earn more money, they're probably not going to be harmed or hurt very much by more taxes. So income tax rates are very low, and sometimes actually negative. There's sometimes subsidies for working if you're low income. There's something called the earned income tax credit that gives you money for each dollar you earn, depending on what your income is and the number of kids you have. And so for most of the people that would be the ones that were relying on their main job and at the minimum wage, if they were fortunate enough to kind of keep those hours, that would be a problem there. They would have to pay more taxes, called FICA or payroll taxes, that go to Social Security and Medicare. But the taxes aren't going to make it so they're worse off from.
Okay.
Right.
In this part of our interview, Mr. Geertz is explaining that recipients of a higher minimum wage won't be hurt by higher taxes that would result from a higher wage. If this is the case, why haven't we moved toward a higher minimum wage as the cost of living increases more and more each year?
The cost of living in the United States is around $22,000. This number includes expenses that go towards basic necessities such as food, shelter, and clothing. However, the average minimum wage worker only makes $15,080 a year. Think about that. This means that with a deficit of sufficient funds, people in poverty are forced to live without many of these necessities.
Did you know that Katie Glasmeyer in Collin County concluded that the required annual income for one adult is $23,187. For one adult and one child, it's $48,966. So what goes into this cost of living? Food, for example, for one adult is $2,986, and with one child, it's $4,394. Medical care for one adult, $2,203. With a child, $7,679. Housing for an adult, $8,268. For one adult and one child, housing is $12,372. One adult transportation costs, $4,236, and with a child, it's $8,754. Overall, for one adult, the cost of living is near $23,000, but with a child, it nearly doubles to $48,000.
After interviewing an expert, we wanted to learn more about what our peers think of minimum wage. We set out to interview someone who was working for minimum wage currently, Gracia Vela.
So, where do you work and how much do you make?
I work at Peyton Party and I make minimum wage.
So, do you think that there should be an increase in minimum wage or should we keep it the same?
Yes, I think there should be because, well, where I work, I don't really work too hard, but there are like some fast food restaurants where like you're like constantly up and moving and you get minimum wage, so it's not fair to them because like they're actually putting in a lot of work and barely making enough money to provide for like their families and their needs and stuff like that. So I think that there should definitely be a raise.
Yeah.
A raise.
There are hard workers out there that can't support their families, can't give food to their kids, even though they're working 40 hours a week or more, but they earn minimum wage and it's still not enough.
Yep, exactly.
So do you go out like as much as you like to?
I mean, yeah, like I go out a lot.
Do you ever feel that the money that you have is like stressed or that
you need more to support like the things that you want to do?
Well, yeah, sometimes because if I don't work a lot, then I obviously don't get paid a lot. So sometimes paychecks are really small, so I can't really be just spending it on random things like ice cream and all that. I have to think, well, maybe for lunch I have to pay for my lunch money, or this and that, or if I want to go get my nails done, that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm
so
do I want to get my nails done or do I want to go eat?
Yeah.
So I have to be able to balance it out and
yeah. So you have to choose
I have
different things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So do you think an increase in your income would benefit you in different ways? Definitely.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to be so stressed out of choosing whether or not to go eat or to go get my nails done.
Less stress. More fun.
Exactly, more fun, less options, doing whatever I want to do.
We have to keep in mind that Gracia is only a teenager. Her major choices of how to spend money probably include only choosing between simple things such as a movie, lunch with friends, or getting her nails done, as she said. When placing these struggles in a larger perspective, we can't help but think of the stressful choices that others who work on minimum wage must make to support their families. For example, when only receiving such little amount of income, there may be conflicts between choosing to pay for electric and water bills for the month, food for the week, or school supplies for their children. The average annual salary of $15,000 one makes off of minimum wage does not allow for one to live the sustainable lifestyle they deserve, filled with the pleasures experienced other than those necessary to survive.
For students,
Okay, yeah,
Well,
that's a good point. I mean, but
honestly, so much homework.
so what did you guys think about this whole experience with the minimum wage thing?
Yeah, I mean, after doing all that research and stuff and interviewing Seth, it got me thinking because I'm a teenager in Plano, Texas, and I live in a nice house and stuff, and it was hard to gather a lot of money making minimum wage for the year that I worked at Market Street. And that just, it gets me thinking, what about those people who make minimum wage, who have to pay for a house, for a car, they have to pay the bills, feed their kids and stuff? It's just hard to believe that people have to do that without a lot of assistance, at least as much assistance as they should be receiving.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The Texas minimum wage is equal to the federal minimum wage value of $7.25. However, the last time it was raised was during an economic recession in 2009.
This was a time when economic stability and unemployment was a major issue for the government to address. Since then, the amount remains stagnant, but the cost of living has risen considerably.
With rising prices of food, gas, and other commodities, it's illogical to believe that someone could continue to support his or herself with the unchanged income of $7.25. A 9% increase in consumer prices has been concluded by the Labor Department Consumer Price Index.
A more shocking number, however, is the 62% rise in gas prices since 2009. If the federal pay rate isn't adjusted to accommodate for this, how are service workers expected to support themselves?
Other rates have also been adjusted in recent years, like, for example, the earnings of private sector workers, which have risen 10%. While many members of society have received increasing pay over the years, those who work for minimum wage haven't.
Inequality has continuously been rising in this country, and it's time to do something about it.
Our documentary is a call to action for the Texas State Legislature to increase the minimum wage pay rate to something higher than it currently is. Considering the last time the federal minimum wage rate was almost close to a decade ago, our group believes it's time to increase it.